Deuteronomy chapter 21. If one be found slain in the land which the Lord your God gives you to possess it, lying in the field, and it be not known who hath smitten him, then your elders and your judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is nearest unto the slain man, even the elders of that city, shall take a heifer of the herd, which hath not been wrought with, and which hath not drawn in the yoke. And the elders of the city shall bring down the heifer unto a rough valley, which hath neither plowed nor sown, and shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for them the Lord your God hath chosen to minister unto him, and to bless in the name of the Lord, and according to their word shall every controversy and every stroke be. And all the elders of the city, who are nearest unto the slain man, shall wash their hands over the heifer, whose neck was broken in the valley. And they shall speak and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Forgive, O Lord, your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, and suffer not innocent blood to remain in the midst of your people Israel, and the blood shall be forgiven them. So shalt you put away the innocent blood from the midst of you, when you shall do that which is right in the eyes of the Lord. When you goest forth to battle against your enemies, and the Lord your God deliver them into your hands, and you carriest them away captive, and seest among the captives a woman of goodly form, and you have a desire unto her, and wouldest take her to you to wife, then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head, and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in your house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that you mayest go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall let her go whither she will. But you shall not sell her at all for money. You shall not deal with her as a slave, because you have humbled her. If a man have two wives, the one beloved, and the other hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be in the day that he causeth his sons to inherit that which he has, that he may not make the son of the beloved the firstborn before the son of the hated, who is the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the hated, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the firstfruits of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. If a man have a stubborn and a rebellious son, that will not hearken to the voice of his father, or the voice of his mother, and though they chasten him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of his city, and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, This our son is stubborn and rebellious. He doth not hearken to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shall you put away the evil from the midst of you, and Israel shall hear and fear. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but you shall surely bury him the same day. For he that is hanged on is a reproach unto God, that you defile not the land which the Lord your God gives you for an inheritance. Okay, let's go back up to verse 1. Now if one be found slain in the land which the Lord your God gives you to possess, lying in the field, and it be not known who has smitten him, or who's killed him, so they found somebody, and he's been killed, but nobody knows who killed him, then they would get the elders and the judges, and they'd come forth, and they'd measure, they'd determine which city, in verse 2, which was around them, was the closest to the man that was killed. And it should be, verse 3, that the city which was nearest to the slain man, the one they found killed, even the elders of the city would take a heifer of the herd, which has not been wrought with or worked, and which is not drawn in a yoke, so it's never known the yoke, and it's never been worked. And it's very important, because this heifer that they've chose doesn't know to turn to the left or turn to the right. It doesn't have any understanding. It's not been taught. Such as the man who's committed this murder. Somebody has killed somebody and left him laying in the field, and they found him. So whoever did this doesn't know the law of God. See, so they are like this heifer that they've taken and not knowing to turn to the left or turn to the right. See, and the elders of the city should bring it down the heifer into a rough valley, which may neither be plowed nor sown, and it shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley. And this rough valley or road valley is a valley that is never been touched. It's like virgin earth. It's the way it was from the beginning. Nobody's ever plowed it or sown it. So it's a valley that's natural. They bring the heifer down there to make atonement for the sin that was committed by killing this man and nobody being able to pay the law. You know, they've searched the city and nobody knows who done this. They can't find it. In verse 5 it says, "And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for the Lord your God has chosen them to minister unto him, to bless in the name of the Lord, and according to the word shall every controversy and every stroke be." Verse 6, "And all the elders of the city," not the priests, but the elders, "who are nearest unto the slain man, shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broke in the valley." Notice the elders are doing it, but the priests are there with them to make sure this is done exactly according to the law of God. We notice, though, we're using this heifer, and in verse 6 they're going to wash their hands. This is all symbolism. God has been teaching us with this symbolism since the beginning. Now, I know sometimes I use a little bit of symbolism to try to teach a higher understanding, but this is what God's been trying to do since the beginning. Notice they wash their hands. This is to symbolize we don't know what's going on here. We are innocent in this. And that's what the washing of the hands means, as we find out, verse 7. "And they shall speak and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it." So we don't know. They're doing this totally as a form and a symbol for the people of Israel that we don't understand what's gone on here. We have searched and tried to find this man who's committed a crime, but we don't know. We are lost with the understanding, just like whoever killed the man in the first place and left him laying in the field. In verse 8, they say, "Forgive, O Lord, your people Israel, whom you have redeemed." God's redeemed you through the law, and you know the law, you know the commandments, "Thou shalt not commit no murder," and you know that your people didn't do this thing because God's redeemed them through the law. We are making atonement or an intercession for the people. That's what the priest did. The priest and the elders would come and make intercession between God and the people at that time, so God didn't come and punish the people. "Thou hast redeemed and suffer not innocent blood to remain in the midst of your people Israel, and the blood shall be forgiven them." So God forgives them, even though the one who actually done this has not come to justice. God's going to deal with him himself. He says, "You've done everything you know to do. You've done everything, and you've washed your hands." This is the way the symbolism would go in those days. They done according to the letter of the law, and they was obedient. Verse 10, "But when you go forth to battle against your enemies," we're changing subjects, see, "and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands, and you carry away captives, and you see among the captives," verse 11, "a woman of goodly form, and you have a desire unto her, and would take her to you to wife." And these are not of the 7 nations that the children are sent in of the land of their inheritance, but this would be later on of the nations that are far away. But not of these 7 nations. Them 7 nations, they would destroy everything, leave nothing alive. But of these other nations, and we're talking about a later time after the Lord has brought them into the land and given them rest, and they have to go and battle these other nations that may come against them. See? And they see a woman among the captives that they took, and she's beautiful, so one of the soldiers decides to take him a wife. This is the law of that. "Then you shall bring her home to your house, and you shall shave her head and pare her nails." So they cut off all of her head, and they cut off all of her fingernails. This is to take away her beauty and to show, as an outward show, when they cut off her hair, that she does not have the covering of God in her understanding, but she is a stranger, so to speak, and this would show everybody that she wasn't under the covenant. This was what this would symbolize. And they would cut off her fingernails. I don't know if this was for safety or just another symbolism to help remove the beauty from the woman. And she shall be shut the raiment of her captivity from off her. This is the clothing she wore, and shall remain in your house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that you mayest go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. So this was the law that would govern a soldier who may see a captive female that he may want to take to wife. Of course, we know that the law would teach against this, and that we shouldn't do this, lest she should draw you away and lead you after other gods. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall let her go, verse 14, whether she will. Wherever she wants to go, let her go. But you shall not sell her at all for money. You shall not deal with her as a slave. She ain't your slave. You took this woman to be your wife. Because you have humbled her, see, you've took her to be your wife. You can't deal with her like she's a slave, like a piece of property. You have to let her go free. So this is part of the law too. We don't do things like this today. I mean, in a way, we've come a lot further than that. Although marriage is taken very lightly today sometimes, and people look at it like it's nothing. You know, it's a covenant, it's agreement made between two people, and it should not be entered in lightly at all. This is a commitment, just like a commitment with God. It's a lifetime commitment. It's not something you just can pick up and throw down as you wish, as your convenience. Now, if a man have two wives, the one beloved, verse 15, and the other hated, and they have borne him children, both the loved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, 16, then it shall be in the day that he causeth his sons to inherit that which he has, that he may not make the son of the beloved the firstborn before the son of the hated, who is the firstborn. There's the law of the firstborn. See, the firstborn male child of a man has the right of the firstborn. It's going to tell us his inheritance in verse 17, to acknowledge the firstborn, the son. Now, here he's teaching us not to make a difference. God says, don't you make a difference in the children. Just because you love one wife more than the other, don't look at the children in this favor. See, the firstborn is the right. He has the right of the firstborn, no matter what, even if you hate his mother. And that's exactly what these two verses are teaching us. Verse 17, but he shall acknowledge the firstborn son, the son of the hated, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the firstborn fruits of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. See, whoever the firstborn is, the right is theirs. And just because you have something against their mother or something like this, you shouldn't make a difference in the children. God's already shown us that the mother has nothing to do with the child. The child, he would stand on his own for his understanding. Now, if a man have a stubborn and a rebellious son, verse 18, that will not listen to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and though they chasten him or they punish him, will not listen unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of the city, and unto the gate of his place. So they'd go out to the gate. The gate's where the elders would sit back in these days, and people had a problem, they would bring it there to the gate, and there the elders would judge, and they'll make their decisions on what should be done with these problems. So you brought your child out there, this son, who wouldn't listen to you. And they shall say to the elders of the city in verse 20, this is our son, who's stubborn and rebellious. He doth not listen to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. So in other words, all he does is eat up everything and get drunk all day, and he won't listen to nothing we say. Now this ain't talking about just any child that's just disobedient. We're talking about someone who's grown up and they've actually become a man. And he's just a drunk and a glutton. Lays around the house all day, doesn't want to do nothing. See, God don't have no respect for these people because they're not honoring their father and mother. Now, if this is what their father and mother taught them, maybe they are. But they should be looking for a higher understanding. Verse 21, and all the men of the city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shall you put away the evil from the midst of you. And all Israel shall hear and fear. Because this is an evil. We don't want our children to get to this point. So we're going to teach our children the law from the beginning. See, they have understanding from their birth and their youth. And God says they shall prosper. Verse 22, and if a man has committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but you shall surely bury him the same day. For he that is hung on a tree is a reproach unto God. And you shall not defile the land which the Lord your God gives you for an inheritance. So, in other words, if somebody's done something that's horrible, it's bad enough to death, and you decide to hang him, and you hang him on a tree, take his body down before the sun goes down and bury him. See, they used to do this and leave people hanging on trees as a sign to people who wasn't from there, and as a sign to the people who was from there, that we have a law in this land, and there's severe punishment for those who go against this law. And that's why it was done back then. And this is what kept the evil away for so long, because the wickedness feared. They had fear of punishment. They had fear of law. Our society has taken that away. It's all monetary today. I mean, if a criminal has money, they just pay the fines and do a small amount of time, usually a slap on the wrist according to the attorney they can buy, and they're back out doing whatever they want to do. But here, this is a little more severe of a crime. We're talking about a crime worthy of death. And they've hung him on a tree. God says he that is hung on a tree is a reproach. So take him down. God don't want to see this. God walks among us constantly. And God don't want to see this. He sees how you're using your symbolism to show people that you have a law and a standard in this land, and this is the way you do things. But there's a point. God says he wants it took down before the night comes, before the sun goes down, because there ain't nobody going to see it at night anyway, and you've made your point. God trying to make a point too. See, he uses symbolism the same way, and God's trying to make a point through his law that this is the light that we can go by. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to chapter 22.